Imagine walking into a silent room and feeling something watching you. There's no one there, just an object, a doll, a mirror, a painting. But something is wrong, as if an unseen presence is trapped inside it. For centuries, stories like these have transcended time. Objects that seem to carry the weight of curses, tragedies, and deaths. And the most disturbing part, they all really existed. Today you will learn about the 10 most sinister cursed objects in history and what happened to those who dared to touch them. It all starts with a box. They say it was created to imprison an ancient spirit, an entity from Jewish tradition known as a Dybbuk, a wandering demon capable of possessing the living. The Dybbuk box was bought in 2001 by Kevin Mannis, an antique dealer in Portland. He acquired it at an auction, unaware of what he was bringing home. Inside there were only a few old coins, a lock of blonde hair tied with a string, and a wine goblet. But at night everything changed. Doors opened by themselves, lights flickered, and Kevin began to have nightmares in which an old woman with empty eyes watched him. When he tried to get rid of the box, he found that it simply came back. A new owner, Jason Haxton, a doctor and museum curator, began to experience physical pain, nausea, and even internal bleeding after taking in the object. Haxton eventually locked the box in a lead-lined safe, but it still exists today, and it is said that even sealed, whoever gets close to it feels something watching, something that never sleeps. The second object seems harmless, an old wooden chair displayed in a pub in England. But this chair was owned by a man named Thomas Busby, hanged in 1702 for murder. Just before he died, Busby asked for his last drink while sitting in his favorite chair. When he stood up, he cursed anyone who dared to sit there. Since then, dozens of deaths have been linked to the object. Workers, soldiers, and visitors who sat in it died in inexplicable accidents, often on the same day. Today, the chair is hung on the wall of the Thirsk Museum, more than 6 feet off the ground, to ensure no one can touch it again. And the staff says sometimes at night it creaks on its own. But not every curse needs wood or metal. Some are painted on canvas. In 1985, a painting called The Hands Resist Him was sold on the internet. The painting showed a young boy next to a doll in front of a glass door. Behind the glass, dozens of pressed hands seemed to be trying to escape. Whoever bought the painting reported that the figures moved at night, that the boy's expression changed, and that motion sensors were triggered on their own. The artist, Bill Stoneham, said the work represented the boundary between the dream world and reality. But he himself was frightened to learn that 2 previous owners had died shortly after acquiring the painting. Today it is locked away in a secret location. Some say that whoever stares into the boy's eyes for too long dreams of the same dark hallway that appears behind the door. Another cursed artifact was born from a tragedy at sea. The Hope Diamond, a 45-carat blue stone, was found in India in the 17th century. It is believed to have been stolen from a sacred statue of the god Rama. Whoever stole it was executed, and since then all its owners have faced grim fates. King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, who owned the diamond, were guillotined. A Russian prince was assassinated. A French jeweler was run over just days after touching the stone. Today, the diamond is kept in the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, but museum guards say that sometimes the vault where it is kept opens by itself, even without any alarm being triggered. In 1970, a doll became the center of attention in a case investigated by Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous American demonologists. Annabelle was just a rag doll, a gift given to a nursing student. Shortly after, she and her roommate began to notice handwritten messages on papers that weren't there before. When a friend tried to play with the doll, mocking the story, he was attacked by something invisible. Days later, he died in a motorcycle accident. Today, Annabelle is locked in a glass case in the Warrens Museum in Connecticut with a clear warning, "Do not touch." According to the couple, she is not possessed by a human spirit, but by something much older. Some curses disguise themselves as beauty. In 1865, an Italian painter named Giovanni Bragolin created a series of paintings of crying boys. There were dozens, each with a sad expression. During the 1980s, fires began to devastate homes in England, and in all of them, one detail stood out. The painting of a crying boy hung on the wall, intact among the ashes. The firefighters noticed the pattern and began to investigate. It is believed that the boy's face was inspired by an orphan who died in a fire, and that somehow his pain was trapped in the canvas. Today, few of these paintings still exist, and those that remain, they say, cannot be burned. But there is a mirror that holds something even darker. The Myrtles Plantation Mirror in the United States is famous for reflecting more than just faces. The house belonged to a 19th century family, where an enslaved woman named Chloe was murdered after a failed ritual. Since then, strange smudges have appeared on the glass, marks that cannot be removed, even after decades of cleaning. Visitors claim to see sad faces looking out from within the mirror, and some feel cold hands touching their shoulders. Researchers have tried to remove the object, but it always darkens again, as if something is trapped on the other side. There is also a stone, simple and grey, kept in Edinburgh, Scotland. It is known as the Stone of Death. Legend has it that anyone who touches it dies within a few days. The first record comes from the 19th century, when a British archaeologist, Sir Archibald Douglas, removed it from an ancient tomb. He died 2 days later, with no medical explanation. Since then, no one has dared to touch it again. Today, it rests under thick glass in a local museum, and yet employees say they hear knocks from the inside, especially at night. Another object with a dark past is Anna Baker's wedding dress. Anna was the daughter of a wealthy Pennsylvania businessman in the 19th century. She fell in love with a poor man, but her father prevented her from marrying. The dress she had bought for the wedding was never worn. Decades later, the dress was stored in a display case at the Baker Mansion Museum and began to move on its own. Visitors claim to see it swaying gently, as if someone invisible were wearing it. Employees report hearing sobs coming from the room where it is displayed. It is said that Anna's spirit still wears the dress she could never use. And finally, there is the Bassano box. Made of pure silver, it was a wedding gift for a young Italian woman in the 15th century. On the night before the ceremony, she was found dead with the box in her hands. Since then, the box has passed through several families, and all its owners died shortly after acquiring it. During World War II, it disappeared, but reappeared in 1988 in an antique shop. The original buyer died a week later. Today, no one knows for sure where it is. Some say it was buried in a cemetery in Naples, along with a priest who tried to destroy it and ended up dead days later. These are just a few of the cursed objects the world knows, but there are many others. Swords that can never be unsheathed, masks that bring madness, and books that no one has managed to read to the end. What they all have in common is the same enigma. Something in them seems conscious. And the question that remains is, are they really cursed, or are people cursing them with their own fear? If you like this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot to bring more dark stories like this.